Alright, welcome back. So today we're gonna take a peek at my Spork Sorceress. It's a Stormweaver and she is actually gotten to a point now where I'm really happy with her, so that's why I wanted to bring you guys a little bit of a guide video on how to build her out, or at least how I did it. This might not be the absolute #1 setup, I don't know. This is what I found to work really well, and for that reason I thought, why not bring it out now when it's at a point where I'm really happy. So let's go over some gear first and foremost. We have all ES gear on this, since we are CI, as you'll see over here on our life pool, is fully blue, so that means that we win the Chaos Inoculation. And for that reason, we don't need to focus on Chaos Res on our gear whatsoever. So basically, what we're doing here is we're stacking ES, we're stacking life, we're stacking mana, and resistances. And the reason we want to stack life and mana is life and mana gives us more ES. Mana and intelligence gives us more spell damage and more lightning damage. So stacking those is kind of coherent with each other, and they basically provide us all the safety and damage that we need. So we also have some dexterity on here, just a little bit of extra dex here and there. It doesn't hurt, it just helps out with being able to use higher skilled gems and whatnot. So that's the reason behind that. For the belt, we have cold and lightning resist, which is basically the main feature of the belt at this moment. Here I would kind of like to get an upgrade with maybe strength and life and mana on instead. That would be an absolute banger of an upgrade. Then we have our boots, movement speed, ES, mana, some resistance. We have our shield. Again, this could definitely do with an upgrade. ES, damage, mana, skill, cast speed, and intelligence. Then we have our helmet, which is also in dire need of a better one. ES, I don't even want to say intelligence because 6 is basically nothing. And then we have some resistances. And on our shitty ring, we have some all res and some cold res and life and mana. This definitely also needs an upgrade. And then we have our breach ring, which is pretty decent. I do wish the chaos damage was lightning damage instead, but it is what it is. I can live with that. We have life, mana, ES, cast speed, intelligence, and fire res. Then for our amulet, we're using the everlasting gaze for more maximum mana, more mana regen, and because of the 25% maximum mana is then turned into energy shield. So if I take this off, you'll notice that I drop basically 2000 energy shield from this amulet alone, which is quite a bit actually in terms of survivability. Then we have the main feature, I would say, what the build is kind of built around, is this armor called Ghost Right. And what this does is, of course, we get some energy shield, which is nice. But the main feature is that it turns 50% of our life into energy shield. So if I take this off, you'll notice that I just dropped 5000 energy shield. So this is basically giving us 5k energy shield alone, and is basically a must-have in this build at the moment. We're not rocking a life flask. The reason behind that is, if we go to our tree, I haven't taken this note, which is called Eternal Youth, and it basically lets you use a life bottle to refill your ES, but you no longer can regenerate ES yourself. And I tried it for a while. I really didn't like it. I much rather want to rely on the recharge. It just feels, I don't know, I'd like it better. But yeah, so for the weapon, we have spell damage, lightning damage, mana, lightning skills, faster cast, and life after kill, which basically does not, like the last mod does nothing for us, but this is a decent wand, and for that reason I decided to just run with it. Now, we are using a second-hand weapon, which is our Sigil of Power staff, and what this is basically our backup damage. So the beautiful thing about Spork is with the WASD movement, you are now able to throw Sporks while moving, and this just provides a hell of a lot of mobility while being able to put out a decent amount of damage. And if you're clicking your Spork button like I am right now, you're actually able to move fairly fast while throwing Sporks. So if you hold it down and move, you're walking, but if you are already running and you're just tapping the button, you'll be able to throw them out super fast. Now, there is a bit of a couple of extra skills you can use whenever you do meet a rare or are fighting a boss or something like that. What I usually do is I'll put down my Sigil of Power, I'll put down my Orb of Storms, put the firewall around it, and then I'll fire my Sporks through this. And in case I need to add even more damage, what I can do is I can also add my Mana Tempest, which will buff our damage even more, as you'll see in just a second. We'll put down this one, that one, we'll start throwing out Sporks. Now we'll put down our Mana Tempest, and as you see, we are at 33k damage right now, which is pretty decent, honestly. It's not bad. It's definitely enough to take care of all the T15 bosses and whatnot. So it works out really, really well. And if we look at my energy shield here, when I put it on, you'll notice that the recharge rate on the energy shield is actually fairly fast. So this is the recharge rate. If you do get hit, which I do get hit from time to time, if it's a really, really bad situation and you feel like you're dying, you can always hit escape and log out and go back into the map if it's a really, really, really bad situation. If it's manageable, what I usually do is I'll just back up while throwing the Sporks, since you can move and throw the Sporks, and if you're backing up like this, you'll be able to constantly keep your DPS up while being hunted down by an enemy that might be very, very strong and you can't take their hits. So that's a very easy way to get a handle of an enemy that might be harder to kill than normal. Now let's go over some gems. So first and foremost, our Sigil of Power has Energy Barrier and increased area of effect, which is basically all I really wanted out of that. Conductivity has Hex Bloom and it has Expand, so Hex Bloom is super, super, super nice. Again, this is only something I use when I meet an enemy that's super hard to kill. And what happens is you put down the curse, and the curse will automatically spread to other enemies within 3 meters whenever a cursed enemy dies. So this really, really works well. It spreads throughout the whole crowd super, super fast, and you rarely need to put more than one curse on a group of enemies. It also has some increased effect. Not really something that's super necessary, but it's just somewhat useful. For the Spark, which is the only one I have like fully linked at the moment, next thing I'll link up will be the Orb of Storms. But yeah, so this one we went with some projectile speed, so our Sparks fly around faster, and cast speed, so we throw them out faster, and the cast speed also kind of counteracts our last gem, because our last gem gives us less cast speed, but we're still basically gaining 10% cast speed here from the -15 on this one. This one is just 40% more damage. It was like kind of a no-brainer. Then we have our inspiration, which I basically can't live without now. So if I take my inspiration out and you look at my mana, you'll notice that I can't sustain my mana. And I'll use all of it really, really quickly. But with the inspiration in, I can now sustain my mana fully, and it's no longer an issue. So that is a very important gem, in my opinion. We have the controlled destruction, which gives us a little bit more damage, and we really don't use crits, so it doesn't matter. It's just a free damage boost, you can say. And then we have our Mana Tempest, which has empowered skills, has 15% more damage and 30% less movement penalty from mobility. This doesn't work as well as I thought it would. This is still a kind of a work in progress. I'm still trying to figure out if I want to use this or not, but I'm just leaving it in for now. Then we have our Archmage. There's no real benefits from putting anything else in here other than Lightning Mastery, which just gives us another level, which is just a little bit more damage. And then we have our Orb of Storms, which have Strip Away now. Since I added Lightning Exposure, I swapped Overabundance out for Strip Away. I am definitely putting this back here whenever I get my ass together and link this up another time. But yeah, so we're using Overcharge as well, increased magnitude of shocks. This just works super well with the Orb of Storms. Lightning Exposure, of course, with Strip Away, more exposure just works out phenomenal with the Orb of Storms. Overabundance works with Orb of Storms really well too, so that will be added back in here the second we get another link. And then we have our Firewall. For Firewall, we're using Fortress. You could technically add the Echo in here, so you can have like 3 firewalls or like a scatter shot or whatever it is. You could do something like that if you wanted to. I really don't care. Like, I'm fine with just the one. And I do like the Fortress, so it is a round circle. The reason I like the round circle is there's 2 ways to use it. You can either stand within it and throw the sparks out, or you can place it around an enemy or around your Orb of Storms and stand from the outside and throw them in through the Orb of Storms and the Firewall at the same time. So that just comes in handy. It works really well. Then we have a couple of, don't mind these. This is just for testing. It's not something I am going to be using a whole lot. However, Grim Feast, it's something I want to add into the build, but currently I'm missing 30 spirit. So the way to basically get around the or get around this and get the 30 spirit would be to corrupt my helmet and like lock the fuck out and actually roll 30 spirit on it. If that were to happen, I would add Grim Feast for even more ES. So that would basically take us to like double, right? And now then we have our skill tree. And for the skill tree, what I have done here, since I am in late end game now, and she is level 90, I have kind of swapped around a little bit. When you're early game and you're leveling, if your mana is good, then maybe not take the mana regen nodes here. I would take the caster nodes instead. It's just, I don't need the cast speed anymore. I am much better off with the mana regen, so I can sustain, and for that reason we went on the bottom line here. Then we grabbed all 3 up here because we want energy shield recharge, we want percent mana because that's more damage and more ES, and we went with the increased ES and gain maximum ES as stun threshold. That was basically one of my biggest issues getting into late maps, was getting frozen or getting stunned would kill me so fast. So the way I have solved those issues is we went with this one for even more stun threshold, gain 20% of maximum ES as additional stun threshold at with 10k ES or almost 11k ES. This actually provides a lot of stun immunity. And also we went with this one, which provides us with basically freeze immunity now. We gain 100% of ES as additional freeze threshold, so basically 10,800, which is quite a lot, and I never really get frozen anymore. It just works out exceptionally well. Then we took some damage nodes down here. Of course, we went for Chaos Inoculation, that's very important. We went for some ES recharge. We went for probably 2 of the most important skills in terms of damage, which would be Arcane Intensity and the Pure Power. Arcane Intensity gives us 3% per 100 mana. Uh, that's just 3% increased spell damage for every 100 mana you have, and we are currently sitting at 2100. So that's pretty decent amount of extra spell damage from that node. And then on top of it, since we are stacking intelligence, that's giving us more mana, which is giving us more spell damage from this one, but also the intelligence is giving us more lightning damage from the pure power. So that works out phenomenal. These all synergize very well with each other. And then of course we went for some more ES over here. Maximum res is just nice, it's more survivability, so why not? And then we went for the Arcane Surge effect, which is basically more Arcane Surge, and Arcane Surge gives us cast speed and mana regen. And then we have some more faster recharge rates, so our energy shield just keeps going up super fast. And of course we grab the energy shield nodes over here to min-max more energy shield. Then we grab this node, which is also more mana, more ES, and more mana is more power, more mana is more ES. So again, these nodes just work very well with this build. Now, when it comes to jewels, I don't have perfect jewels yet. I'm still working on that, but you are looking for something kind of in this area. Maximum ES, cast speed, spell damage, mana regen, recover mana on kill. What else do we have here that's useful? ES recharge rate, stun threshold is nice, magnitude of shock is nice, area of effect of cursed, yeah, it's okay, it's not super necessarily. Chance to ignite does work for us as well since we're using firewall. Maximum ES. Damage recouped as life is kind of useless, so we're definitely looking for a better jewel here. And then what we have some more spell damage, ES recharge, and stun threshold. And at this point we are basically stun immune, right? Like it's as close as you're gonna get to stun immune and freeze immune pretty much. Everything here is tested out really well, I would say. I've really tried a bunch of different setups here, a bunch of different nodes, and I've come to really like this setup now. So for the ascendancies, I still need my last ascendancy. I haven't gotten that one, but I am definitely now ready to do it. I should actually go and do that. And then we start out with our first ascendancy by taking mana and constant gale. And for our second ascendancy, I went with the force of will, but you could technically also go for scouring winds, either or. It really comes down to your mana regen needs, and it comes down to your cast speed needs, right? This one is super nice in combination with this one up here. Those two just synergize phenomenally well. And again, our mana is giving us more Arcane Surge, right? So just stacking more mana gives us even more cast speed and more regen. And we grabbed Scouring Winds as the third one, and the fourth one would be Strike Twice. I'm pretty convinced this is the way I'm gonna go. There is an argument to be made for taking this, but I don't know if I want to. I've tried it a little bit. I'm not super happy with how it works. I'm gonna go for the damage, but technically, let's say you're playing hardcore or something else, you might want to consider doing this, or at least trying it. And if you don't like it, then I would go for Strike Twice for sure. And that is gonna cover the whole build in itself. So I will just leave you guys with some gameplay, just a short minute or something like that of me doing pretty much every mechanic in the game. Not doing any Ubers or anything. I tested her out, did one Citadel, and instant got literally one-shotted immediately. I thought that almost 11k ES would be enough to be able to take a hit or two, but it turned out to be a little bit harder than expected, so I still have to some work to figure out how this is gonna get even more damage than it has right now. But I hope you all enjoyed the video. I hope you would come around for some of the live streams or whatever. If you like what you see, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the good jazz, and I really appreciate you guys watching. And let me just finish out by saying I'll catch you all in the next one.
They will find you, and they will destroy.
They rise from the waters.